amigos are we, brother to brother and everyone, a brave amigo. Wherever they need us, our destinies lead us, amigos, we're always together.
Hello, welcome to the Three Amigos FPL show for Game Week 30. We're the Three Amigos. I'm your host, FPL Marple, and alongside me, as always, are my amigos Mars and Dale. On this week's show, we're joined by special guest Tom Campbell, who you all follow at Utterly TC. Tom, you're very welcome to the Three Amigos. How is the season treating you, and more importantly, how are you?
Hey, Donica, I'm really well, thanks, and thanks for having me on the show. Season's been not great, actually. It's definitely been my worst for 5 or 6 years now. Round about the 350k mark, I think, off the back of this game week. But have kind of been around there for, since back in game week 16, I think. Never been in the top 200k this season. So, yeah, it's been a pretty disappointing season. Still got a few weeks left to claw back some kind of respectability. But, you just got to keep plugging away. It's all fun. How about you?
Yeah. Well, no, my season is, we don't really talk about it on the air at the moment. Mars will refer to it plenty of times during the show anyway. But tell me, Tom, been looking at your match of the day roundups that you've put up on Twitter. I'm a big fan of them. When did you start doing them, and kind of what was your thinking behind them?
So I basically what I do just on Twitter. So my Twitter handle, as you mentioned, is at Utterly TC, and I don't want to say every week, but as many times as often as I can, I'll basically just put out 4 pictures on my phone of sort of notes of match of the day after I finish watching it typically on a Sunday morning. I started doing it, I don't know, definitely this season, but probably about a quarter of the way into the season, and just people just seem to really enjoy them, and sort of did it really actually for a friend of mine who. He's a dad of 2, and just mentioned that he just doesn't get the chance to watch match of the day, even though it's kind of 90 minutes, but it's just super busy. And I was like, well, actually, I always do, so can just kind of do that and actually put the notes across from an FPL point of view, so we can all read reports and stuff of the games and see who got the the goals and what have you. But I try and focus in on who caught my eye from an FPL point of view, and with a view to the upcoming game week. So, yeah, people have been really enjoying those, and I'm happy to keep doing them.
Yeah, I'd say sometimes as a dad of 3, it's I find it sometimes hard to actually get to see match of the day unless one of the boys actually puts it on themselves. They're at an age where match of the day is one of the programs they like to watch.
I can't remember the last time I watched it, to be fair, on a Saturday night. But I do record it and watch it on the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, I completely agree with you. The notes are really helpful. And, for me, I've always said it, it's all about the eye test. So when I read, I look forward to those notes because sometimes it's good to have a different view. And just to see, okay, there's stats, of course, there are stats and we look at them, but there's nothing beats what you actually see, the movement of the player. Stats are not going to tell you that, or how the player looks. They look. Sometimes I actually go by that. If I see a player that might not have scored in that game, but actually looks like he's getting into good places, getting the deliveries, just unlucky, I might go for him because I think, next match, he's going to smash it. 9 times out of 10, he would have scored that one. So if it happens again, he's going to score. And sometimes I get lucky like that.
Do you know what, Lars? I totally agree. And actually, I think of a really good example earlier this season was just before Mahrez went on his really good run. He played so well on match of the day. He didn't really do much from an FPL perspective, but he just looked awesome in terms of how he played. And that made me bring him in, and I benefited from that run. I then made a mistake in transferring him out for Eden Hazard, who kind of did well initially, but then tapered off. But I only brought Mahrez in on the strength of how good he looked on match of the day. That kind of observation that you're talking about. The stats wouldn't have told me that. In actual fact, they would have probably told me not to get him. So I think there's a balance between what you see and what you read on the stats. And I think FPL management success is probably about trying to marry the two up as much as you can.
So anyway, tell us, Tom, Game Week 29 is just after wrapping up, but how did you get on? How many points are we looking at?
Not a bad week for me, actually. I got 57 this week. So defence did pretty well for me. I seem to have ended up with a load of money put into my defence. So Van Dijk Otamendi and Davies all picked up 6. I didn't captain Salah, so that was a mistake. I went Kane because I'm always just attracted to that hat-trick potential, and that's clearly been a mistake this season. Jordan Ayew picked up 7, and I'm one of Sanchez's remaining 3 owners, so picked up his really, 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 really lucky assist this evening against Palace. So yeah, not too bad, mate. 57 this week.
Good stuff. I just pipped you by 2 points, so 59. So I'll take my small victories where I can get them. Mars, how did you get on? How was 29 for you?
Yeah, I'm on 54 all out.
It's really close then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's quite close. I mean, you know what? I think if you got over 50 this game week, it's been a pretty low scoring game week. Yeah. I also went Kane over Salah just because I haven't. The only time I captained Salah this season is when he only got 1 assist. So yeah, nothing much to shout about. I mean, Otamendi clean sheet. But yeah, I'm happy. I got Mariappa again get me a clean sheet, which was nice.
Did you captain Salah, Don?
I did, yeah. Captain Salah.
I just feel like Mars and I
had
dodged
Son
a bit of a bullet. I mean, I watched that game, and yeah, Salah could have easily scored heaps more than he did.
Yeah, so could have Kane, and they should have.
That's a good point. Yeah, Kane was
Son
really
was
unlucky.
Son was rugby tackled inside the area.
He was, yeah. And Kane always seems to be just knocking on the door of that hat trick. One day we'll get there, Mars.
But tell me, Dale, how was your one?
It wasn't bad. 54 points. So it's not to rate on roll, but it's higher than the average.
Yeah, all pretty similar then, isn't it, guys? Really?
Yeah. Captain Mane, that paid off.
Nice.
And Aubameyang popped up with his 9 points. How we got them 3 bonus points? I don't know, but I'll take them.
That was a strange one. Scoring 1 goal in a loss, it was a bit of an odd one, all right.
And people were giving me pelters on Twitter because I had 3 Arsenal players. It's like, well, I had Aubameyang, so it's not all bad.
Yeah, not exactly. So lads, let's move on to the next section of the show, which is of course Mars's talking point. When we'll see what has caught the wacky eye of Mars this past game week.
Could be Arsenal, could be Everton. Take your pick. I mean, these 2 clubs are just, I don't know what is going on. Arsenal, I actually called it on last week's pod that Arsenal were going to lose to Brighton. I even apologized to Dave because he was an Arsenal fan. You could see it. They could go on a run now. They could still, but I just had a feeling that Brighton were going to turn them over. But just away from home, just watching them, we talked about Match of the Day earlier. Just watching them, they just had no bottle against City. Okay, in the league game they were better, but still. And then Everton, oh my word, away from home. I mean, honestly, I don't know what is going on.
I called that one.
Yeah, and you take off Sigurdsson when you need a goal away from home, and he's smiling about it.
He was playing well.
He was.
Siggy. I watched that game.
Yeah. I mean, those. You know what? It can only get better for both those teams. But you could argue. I've said I don't think I can never rule Arsenal out of the top 4 race just because they have nothing to play for now, and mathematically they can still do it. So for me, it's still everybody out of the top 6 fighting for those 4 places. But I can see why people say no, Arsenal out of it. They are about 13 or 15 points behind now. You need a huge swing of points for them to make it.
Yeah,
I'm just a cautious type. Don.
Yeah, but it's not even Liverpool. They have to 2 teams that have to completely collapse for them to get through.
They really did phone it in though against Brighton. I think they completely took them for granted. They thought they were going to roll up there, resting Aaron Ramsey, who was by far their only decent player against Man City. I thought was pretty arrogant. It's just like it smacks of arrogance. Like Brighton are a good team. They're actually playing a lot better recently, and I thought they deserved to lose. I thought their defending was shambolic. Again, I can't see them touching the top 4, not for love nor money. I think they need to focus on the Europa League, although personally I think they'll get beaten that by Milan, who are on a cracking run over in Serie A. So I think...
Well, you look at the difference in the managers.
Yeah, I totally agree. Wenger is a basket case. He should have gone ages ago. But you look at FPL, though, and it's so difficult because we're about to go into double game weeks territory, and they've got this awesome run of fixtures. And it's like do you trust them to make good on this and take Mars's approach of, this could happen, they could write it, or do you look at their, I think it's 4 wins in 14 or something? Can you actually put any trust into that? Probably not. It's really difficult from an FPL manager perspective.
It is. And for me, it's a waiting game. Just wait and see if something Boomerang I think he'll do well. He'll score goals. Ramsey's class. But then what else? Mkhitaryan hasn't shown me anything. Now maybe with the shackles off, and he can't play in Europa, I believe, right? He's cup tied, right? The point is the shackles will be off, and like you said, most likely they'll probably lose to Milan. So you never know.
You say the shackles are off, Mars, but they're not, because it's the age-old problem from a footballing perspective with Arsenal. They don't have a defensive midfielder, or they don't have a competent defensive midfielder who can do the dirty work and protect the defence and let the forward players go forward. And that is the biggest problem with Arsenal at the minute, is they're playing Xhaka as the defensive midfielder. And he's not a defensive midfielder. He's got his red card in him. He can pick a pass, don't get me wrong, but he's not a defensive midfielder, and that is why teams are picking him apart, because they can get at that back three, because the back three just haven't got no pace at all.
Spending's off for Xhaka now in his career, so he's a walking red card as well.
It's because he's the last man in the midfield, and he's got to make a last-ditch tackle, and that's why he's a red card into happen.
And they've got this awesome fixture in 30 home to Watford, which looks great on paper, but Watford have just found some form recently. They kind of sorted out the defence a little bit, and Troy Deeney's got previous with Arsenal. He was the one who kind of made the comment about them having a soft underbelly. So he's captain, so he's going to be super motivated again. I wouldn't fancy them in that game.
I love how you eloquently put no cojones as a soft underbelly. I love it.
I think what I'd be waiting for on my Arsenal is what happens with Arsene Wenger. If he announces he's going at the end of the season, I think that could just lift the club, and everyone's great, he's going, and we're going to celebrate his 20 years or whatever it is here. And, he's tarnished his legacy, no doubt about that. But he's just been left behind tactically with managers like Klopp and Pep, who, the press from the front, and they want their attacking midfielders to be the first line of defence rather than just coasting through again.
This is why I think when they signed the two, I said Mkhitaryan and Boomerang, I said great signings, but Arsenal will remain Arsenal, because these two guys would never be asked to defend. So if Arsenal have got a game where it's an open game and teams coming at them, okay, even though City did, but City can defend and attack at the same time. Not many teams can do that. So if a team goes to Arsenal at home and try to open up, they could hit you. In fact, think about the Liverpool game where it was 3-3. Because we had, it was during the period where we had dodgy defending and Mignolet made a couple of mistakes, Arsenal came at us because they don't defend, they just attack. Now, if you have any muscle in your team and you go at them like Brighton did and City did, they will lose. So I think their attacking players in some games will deliver, and they could deliver big. The problem is, which games?
Teams have worked out. It's, for Arsenal to play well, Mesut Ozil's got to play well, pretty much. And because, there's no doubt about it, like going forward, he's a classy number 10. I don't care what anyone says, he's a world-class number 10.
He is.
He's going to go to Germany to the World Cup, and they're going to have a massive chance to win the World Cup, and he's going to be a massive part of what they do. But what teams are working out is if they stop the supply to Ozil, then they stop Arsenal playing. And it's that simple. It's like, you look at the best teams in the league and you go, well, where are their strengths? And it's like Liverpool. You go, oh, they've got Salah, but then they've got Firmino, and they've got Mane, and then further back they've got the Ox. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's coming at you from all angles. Man City, you've got Aguero, you've got Sane, you've got Sterling. To less extent with United, but they're going to be solid at the back, and you can't break them down. And if you give them a sniff, they're going to take it because it's United and that's their mentality. And same with Spurs, they've got Kane, they've got Ali. When you look at Arsenal, it's like, where are their strengths? And I'm not seeing it myself personally.
I think you're right. So to sum up Mars's talking point of the week, Arsenal are goners, and Granit Xhaka, as much as it sounds like a brilliant defensive midfielder name, he's not a defensive midfielder.
I'm going to get pelters on Twitter now for ripping Arsenal apart, aren't I?
You're used to it anyway. That's all good.
Just a quick one on Everton as well. I actually went to watch them up at Spurs a few weeks back when they got thrashed 4-0. I randomly went to Wembley to watch that with some friends. I think you were there, weren't you, Mars? I think you mentioned.
I was.
They on the road are seriously a terrible team. I know they've got this. Well, I mean, at home you can kind of just about make a case. I don't think they're great at all, but on the road they're just dreadful. And I know they've got a game, haven't they, in 31. It's not a horrible game against Stoke, but it is away, and their away record is really, really bad. So I'm not quite sure what Allardyce's brief was when he went in there. If it was just to keep them up, then he'll probably manage that. But beyond that, he's really hasn't done anything.
When they were going through a really, really bad run with Unsworth, I said, look, Allardyce is the right man for the job. Just go get him. He will get them what they need to be. They need a manager like him. And he's done what is needed of him, which is to make sure that a club like Everton does not get relegated. Because let's be honest, they shouldn't be. And they are a big historical club. They shouldn't be. But then we've seen bigger clubs also, or just as big clubs. I don't want the Blues to come at me because I'm a Liverpool fan, But like the Nottingham Forest, the Leeds, these are big clubs that have been down. So they just could not afford to go down. So he came and he's done a good job. No.
Just reminded me how crap my club is.
But he's coming, and to be honest, I actually thought he would make them a bit better defensively. I remember when it all happened, I said, right, I'm going to watch and see what Everton are a no-go until we see what Allardyce does. And I was hoping that the defenders would be better. Got Kenny in because he was cheap. It hasn't improved. I quote Everton fans when I say this is not my words. They say they are top 6 at home, so they are better at home, and they've got a nice game. They've got a nice game next week against Brighton, but then they are away the week after. So it's kind of like, I was thinking doubling up on Theo and Siggy because I've already got Theo. So I thought, okay, I'll get Sigurdsson, but I might not. I might go somewhere else. So I really don't know, and I'm just waiting to see what will happen.
Yeah, one to look at there, mate. I noticed that Baines was on the bench in the last game, and Martina had a really tough game against Loughton and Lennon on the right-hand side of Burnley's team. So I think as long as Baines is up to it, and you'd assume he was on the bench, he's got to be close to fitness. I think he'll come back in soon. So you might want to see how he goes in that Brighton game. And if he comes through unscathed, then he might be a nice differential for 31. I would recommend Coleman, but 6.4 million is heaps to be paying for an Everton defender.
I'm hoping, as a Kenny owner, that Coleman will be rested for the away game and let Kenny play at home.
Could happen because that was a long-term injury, wasn't it? So
yeah. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping.
That's kind of wishful thinking, I think, Marzi.
It is. I know.
The Three Amigos are offering our listeners the chance to appear on our podcast as our special guest in a future episode. Simply be the first to identify the voice.
I'm a football player.
For your chance to win. Send your guesses to @3AmigosFPL on Twitter or on our Facebook page. That voice again?
I'm a football player.
Good luck. So, Tom, do you have any ideas who could be the player?
The only one I thought it might be is the sort of long-forgotten Everton midfielder of Davy Klaassen.
No. But it's not a bad guess. He's okay. I'll give one slight clue in it is he's a lot more experienced in the Premier League than Klaassen.
Okay.
So that's
anyone. I mean, Mars is more experienced, isn't he? He's hardly had a kick, has he? Klaassen, quite right.
Listen, I can't give out
pony, hasn't he?
No, not a bad guess. When you do find out who it is, you'll know that why I'm saying that it's not that bad a guess. So. But let's move on to the community topics. So we're going to discuss all the big talking points in the Twitter and we're newfound Reddit community. We joined up to Reddit this last week. Some talking points that we've come across in the community. When you struggle for confidence, it's difficult as well when you have just the trousers on. It's easy to take the trousers off as well, but when you're naked completely, you have to find a shirt and try to put it on again. That, of course, is a quote, but not from Mars, but instead the professor, Arsene Wenger. Lads, there have been a good few, there have been some quality football quotes over the years, but we're going to kick off this section of the show by giving you all a chance to give us your favourite, starting with you, Marzi.
Oh, I mean, for me, there's a couple, but the one that wins it is Rafa's facts rant. That's when he lost it. And that's when you knew that Ferguson, or was it Mourinho, got in his mind. I think it was Ferguson. And it's just, I didn't know, he didn't have to do it. We were doing so well. He didn't actually have to do it. But as I was watching it, I was like, he's got into your mind. So fair play.
Right, Tom, you're next up. Give us your favourite managerial quote.
So before Jose became sort of embittered with life and sort of started thinking that the game owed him, he actually did have a great sense of humour. I remember him fondly from his early days at Chelsea and even before that at Porto. My favourite quote was from his first spell in charge of Chelsea when he'd had a bit of an injury trouble with the Chelsea squad, and he was kind of moaning that there wasn't the opportunity to sort of strengthen the squad. And he did this great analogy or metaphor by comparing his squad to a blanket that was too small for him. And if he pulled it up over his chest, then his feet were left out in the cold. And you kind of knew where he was going. And then he kind of recognised that this could be seen as quite insulting to his players. So he sort of added this caveat by saying, but the blanket is made of cashmere, as if to like say, but I'm really happy with the guys I have. But, then he sort of extended out to saying the supermarket is closed and stuff. And I missed that Jose Mourinho who'd have some fun with the press. I think he needs to lighten up because he's got pretty melancholy and it's not him. That was a good one though. That was my favourite.
It was a good one, yeah. Too serious now at this point. Dale, what's your favourite one?
Well, I mean, there's the classic Eric Cantona, the seagulls are following the trawler. But I'm gonna.
That's what the Wenger one reminded me of. Yeah, was that?
Yeah, but I'm gonna stick to old school, and I'm gonna go for the classic Kevin Keegan meltdown live on Sky Sports. I will love it if we beat them. That was like one of the watershed moments of the 90s. If you was a Premier League football fan in the 90s, you knew that moment. They've played it on Sky Sports about 1 million times.
Man United fans rejoice in that one. I think every year they love laughing at poor Kev. But he totally
4-point lead, didn't they?
Fergie totally got it in his head. Was one of them examples of him totally getting in his head. But my favourite ones, lads, would be I have two Ian Holloway ones because Holloway I think has quality quotes. But this is my favourite one would be when he said in a press conference after a victory, he said, put it in gentleman's terms, if you've been out for a night and you're looking for a young lady and you pull one, some weeks they're good looking and some weeks they're not the best. Our performance today would have been not the best looking bird, but at least we got her in the taxi. She wasn't the best looking lady we ended up taking home, but she was very pleasant and very nice. So thanks very much. Let's have a coffee.
Oh God, he's always a legend. You can pick any Holloway quote.
Love him. Absolutely love him.
Ronaldo's penis. He said he's great at football, but I bet he's got a small. I hope he's got a small penis.
Yeah. There was another one from this was the one after his side lost at Crystal Palace, and he said, I mean, if you're a burglar, it's no good pouncing around on the outside of someone's house looking good with your swag bag ready. Just get in there, burgle them, and come out. I don't advocate that, obviously. It's just an analogy.
Proud son of Bristol.
Yeah, he's quality. But I thought when I heard Wenger's comments after the match, I thought we have to have a bit of a chat on that in the pod.
He's totally lost it, hasn't he? It's sad to say he's just completely gone.
Yeah, completely gone. I feel sorry for him too.
Yeah, Dale mentioned he's destroying his own legacy, and I couldn't agree more. It's pretty sad to see. God knows what he was getting at with that quote. I don't even want to know. I doubt whether even he knows. I doubt whether even God knows, to be honest. So
it could be though. He could have just done like it could be a Mars situation and he doesn't have somebody to edit it afterwards and make it sound. He's not saying anything, Tom. So we'll move right swiftly on. Okay. First up, we're calling it the laundry problem. Okay. It feels like very few teams can consistently keep clean sheets right now. With only 9 game week left to play, Tom, what is your strategy like in defence?
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, just looking at it sort of initially, like what I'm going to do over the next week or so. So I've ended up with heaps of money in my defence at the moment. I've got Van Dijk, Otamendi and Davies as 3 kind of premiums with Norton and the fairly useless Ogbonna alongside him. So my plan is obviously to keep Van Dijk, who he's got a tough fixture this weekend away at Man United, but obviously plays in 31, has a good fixture. I think that's certainly viable. People can get on that. Robertson probably represents better value as he's cheaper than Van Dijk and has been not playing really well on the left-hand side. Seems to have that position nailed. In terms of that upcoming blank, though, I do like the look of Bauer for Stoke. So if you can get round this upcoming game week, as Stoke have got Man City, then he may be one to look at going into 31. I definitely also want to keep with Ben Davies. He went up in value again last night to, I think, 5.9 mil. I think he's at now. Although he doesn't play in 31, I think it's worth keeping with Ben Davies, as Spurs do actually play in game week 34, which is a double game week. So they've got a tough game against Man City and then a home game against Newcastle. And then they also play in 37 as part of the double as well, with 2 away games against West Brom and I think it's Brighton, respectively. Don't think those have been confirmed yet, but that's what we're expecting around there. So I'm kind of happy to keep with the 2 premiums and then look to probably get Bauer in as one of the guys to supplement him as part of the blank game week 31 strategy. That's what I'm looking at.
Great stuff, Tom. Nicely covered there. I know the Chelsea defence after game week 32 and kind of double United for the 2 double game weeks. It's a hard one to know because teams' form is changing so much, and Chelsea are very hard to rely on. They look like fixtures-wise, they look good, but it's kind of hard to know what Chelsea we're going to get for the run-in.
It's a good point, mate, because they do have a great fixture against Palace in the upcoming game week on Saturday in the late game. I guess another one in the same midst as Bauer would be Charlie Daniels, or potentially like an Ake or Steve Cook, someone like that for Bournemouth. They got a really hard game on the Sunday against Spurs, but then they do play in 31. And like Miles was saying, in terms of being like a watcher of games, Bournemouth went to a flat back 4 in the game against Leicester, and they were so close to keeping that clean sheet against Leicester. And it seemed to work better for Daniels. He seemed to attack more as part of a back 4. So if you've got Daniels, I'd definitely keep him. And again, he may be one to look at for 31. Probably wouldn't recommend getting him against Spurs, though, even though they're at home, because that's a tough fixture. But, onwards, he's a good option.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Move on to what we're calling third forward woes. So, Mars, coming to you on this one. This spot, of course, has been the troll position of the season for me, with a long line of pretenders catching my eye and then letting me down. Callum Wilson is there right now, but if it wasn't for his favourable fixture in game week 31, he'd be long gone. Mars, looking at these last 9 game weeks, who should managers be having in that position, or perhaps is there a combination of players who you think works well for the remaining fixtures?
So this is a really tough one, to be honest. There's not many options, obviously, apart from Okaka. No, but talking seriously, there's all of these guys are under delivering. They promise you. So Niasse comes in, does well, and then nothing. DLC, he comes in and then in and out of the team. So you don't know if you can stick with him or not. And even if you look at Wilson, it's exactly the same. So I could say, Joshua King is looking good and back, and he's on penalties. I don't even know if he's going to play. Even at Bournemouth now, we have the issue of Defoe, King, and Wilson. So I would say, so if you look at game week 31, you've got a small choice, to be honest. Most people will have Firmino, right? And a lot of people will have either Kane or Aguero, so you bench them because you're not going to sell them. So I'm benching Kane, for example. Then it comes to the third spot. So you have a choice between a Bournemouth player because they're playing at home. I wouldn't go Everton because they're playing away. Some people have gone for Deeney, which I wouldn't go for because he's playing at Liverpool. If you only bring him for 31, absolutely no point. And then Watford and Everton probably I'm not sure, but they might not have double game weeks. I haven't looked at all the teams that have double game week. I know Liverpool don't, but you can still have Firmino and keep him. But we'll cover that in essential players. Apart from that, honestly, there's not much choice for the third spot from game week 31 onwards. My plan would be to go 3-5-2 moving forward and have a cheap player that playing in a double game week on my bench for the bench boost. So whether it's, depending on really which team has an easy-ish fixture in the double game week, or at least one of them being at home, then I'll pick a cheap striker from that team and go 3-5-2.
I guess, Miles, you could probably make a case for Benteke just in 31, bearing in mind that Palace just
have to win.
I agree. It's not, but based on what you said, there aren't many options. I totally agree on the Watford one because you're likely to have a Liverpool defender as well. So even if he scores, that would be kind of cancelling out Liverpool clean sheet. Yeah. So I get you saying like juice out the Stoke or certainly picked up a knock. Everton just toilet on the road. Huddersfield not a bad option with Mounier perhaps, but
he rotates a lot. Yeah, Huddersfield. I forgot. Thank you for mentioning that. He rotates a lot.
So you've got Mounier, I agree. The pool's really small.
It is.
So I think of that tiny pool, just because of the other options, then you could make a case. It's not really a compelling case for Benteke, but of the options available, he might be the best one.
You could. You absolutely could. They are playing Huddersfield and they are playing away, but like you said, they need to win. But then later on, they've got Chelsea next week. So would you buy him just for the game week 31?
Because I'm intending to wildcard in 32, yes. If I didn't have my wildcard, then no.
Me too. No, it's a good shout.
Lads, my biggest regret this season was when I had McBurney in as my third forward, and I was planning on just completely punting that position, and then he got transferred out of the league, so I stupidly changed my tactic.
Did we tell? I remember that.
Quite frankly, I should have left him there on the bleeding on my team and just forgot about it.
I remember that it was transfer deadline day, and I remember you having him, and it popped up. He's gone to Barnsley or somewhere on loan.
And I went, oh.
Yeah, it was live on the pod, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember.
Dale, come here. Next question up is Korea on my mind. Both £8 million Heung-min Sung and 4.9 million Ki Sung-young were brilliant for FPL managers in game week 29 with 16 and 13 points respectively. Spurs have Bournemouth in game week 30 before blanking, then having Chelsea and Man City in the next 3. Swansea have Huddersfield, then a blank before travelling to Old Trafford to face United. How do you value these two Korean players, and how should FPL managers be regarding them now?
It's a difficult one, this, because Heung-min Son is doing the business this week, and I've had him this season at points, and he's done the business for me. But the problem with Spurs is when they play a top 6 side, they haven't got the best form against the top 6 sides. So, it depends how deep you are into Spurs because, Davies is an option at the minute. But, he might hit rotation with Rose. You've got Ali Eriksson and Son to pick from in the midfield. And this is assuming everyone has Kane. So it just depends how deep you want to get into Spurs. But I've been looking at Ki Sung-young, and I think he's got before this week as well. He's got a 6 and 8 point hauls in the last 3 weeks, either side of a 2-point haul, something like that. But I was looking at his heat map, and he's playing quite deep. But then I was looking at the rest of the players, and they're all playing quite deep. So it looks like Swansea have reverted from the short pass, slick passing style what you associate with Swansea, and they're playing a bit more direct. And do you know what? So if he's pulling the strings and feeding either one of the Ayew brothers, I'd be tempted to take a little chance on him at 4.9 because the difference in price, you're talking 3.1 million. That could you're 0.1 off upgrading Walcott to Kevin De Bruyne. Do you know what I mean? It's so I'd be tempted to have a little gamble, but I am known for gambling and failing. So you probably keep Son. So, but yeah, I'd be tempted to have a little gamble on Ki Sung-young.
Yeah, I actually I remember after the game week I got a question on Twitter, one of these lineup questions, but it was for a draft. A guy called Fantasy Ray. And he asked me, Ki Sung-young was one of the 3 options. He asked me for draft, and I didn't advise him for Ki, so I'd imagine that would be the last week that I'll be getting asked by that particular manager. But lads, brilliant stuff. We'll move on to the listener questions section of the show. We're going to do this nice rapid fire. So first up, Tom, Jonathan Strack was asking. He's a double header of questions. First of all, he wants to know, would you keep Wilson for the upcoming blank game week? And what other striker alternatives other than Firmino? He's no problem with money, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've got him, you kind of got to keep with him. The fact that he's got that fixture, he might not get full minutes, but you've got to take the chance that he will, based on there being just the 8 teams playing in 31. So I'd definitely stick with. He's not been on a great run, but it could easily come good for him in that game week when there's so few teams playing. I did have a little look in terms of the other options. Mars and I just had a quick chat on this, didn't we, about options. I think it comes down to kind of 3. So probably Mounier, Deeney and Benteke. I've already said Deeney doesn't really work for me because I've got a Liverpool midfielder and a defender. So him scoring would kind of cancel out those points, those clean sheet points a bit. Benteke does have the best shot stats in the last 3. He's had 8 shots. I don't think they probably wouldn't include tonight's game. So he came really, really close to scoring. It was only a kind of another worldie from De Gea that kept him from scoring. He's had 2 assists in that time as well. They're not great stats, and I'm not in any way a big fan of Benteke's really, but I just think that pool of strikers is so small, like we said, that he may represent the best option. I do like Mounier. I prefer him as a player. But like Mar said, and it's a good counterpoint, he does get rotated. He's had 180 minutes in the last 3 over the period I was looking at, compared to the 269 and 270 respectively for Deeney and Benteke. So that comes with an element of risk. And for me, you'd be bringing this player in because you want him to be playing in that fixture and that fixture alone. So based on that, I think Benteke at 7.6 mil represents the best option of a pretty bad bunch, to be honest.
Yeah, because he's, of course, Benteke, one thing you could say about him is he has shown a proven track record of being able to score, score in the Premier League. So
yeah, he does. He does have history. I think him losing penalties, quite rightly, was a pretty massive factor in losing his appeal. Like, he missed a few. Milivojevic has definitely got the nod there for Penn, so that's the thing against him. But like I say, there's just not that many options. Like, everyone's probably going to have Firmino anyway.
Very slim pickings, all right, yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Mil Tom. The second part of Jonathan's question was for the blank game week. He's asking for the best midfielder. So he is Walcott and Salah. Who else?
So I was going to get a little bit creative on this one. So I think everyone can look through the Liverpool options. They kind of speak for themselves, really. But if you wanted to go rogue, and we all do, don't we, from time to time, here's one for you. So Will Hughes, he's just come back in for Watford. He's only played 24 minutes, and that was against the Baggies in the last game, and came on. He picked up the assist for the winner, and it's his first game since, back in game week 14. But before that, he was on the run of, off the back of a run of 14 points and 8 points, respectively, against my beloved West Ham and Newcastle, respectively. So he's dirt cheap, sort of 4.6 mil as a midfielder. So if you wanted that road punt, I definitely would see how his game time goes in game week 30, see if he's is returning to fitness and gets selected in that Watford midfield. But that would be one that would be under the radar for a lot of more casual managers, and I just got a feeling he might be set to do something. So that would be a little sneaky shout.
I like it. If that one comes off, you'll definitely be getting some shout outs the weekend. Thanks to me and Tom. Move on to the next one. Mars doubleheader one from John G, Grifters United. He was asking, first of all, he was struggling for a game week 30 questions, so he was asking which of us is Steve Martin, Martin Short and Chevy Chase. We enlightened him at the on Twitter, but I can confirm that I am Steve Martin. Dale, who are you?
I'm Chevy Chase.
That makes me Martin Short.
Yes, and you are the shortest person on the podcast. So
I am indeed. Good things come in small packages. But so does poison.
And next part was his proper question was, who are the season keepers right now? So irrespective of fixtures and blanks, who is needed and who wouldn't you sell? So who's unsellable?
I'm not saying anything that's going to rock the world here. Kane, Salah for me. Those two you keep. You build your team around. You build your teams around them. And if you have De Gea, to be honest, why would you sell him? They're going to play in the double game weeks. You just keep him. You keep him, and if you're making a wild card and you look in at options, I always love to have him in my team, and he's going to play every game for United, and he gets save points right, left, and centre. They keep clean sheets. So for me, there's one in each position. Those three.
Any defender that's must own?
Honestly, no. I don't think there is one defender that is a must own. There's good defenders. I don't think he is. We don't play in a double game week, so I wouldn't keep Van Dijk. I would keep Salah as a single game week player in a double game week for sure, but not Van Dijk. Davies maybe he's good, but as long as he keeps his place. My love for Otamendi, and I think City will keep clean sheets. Is he going to play all their games? I'm not sure. To answer your question, I don't think there is one defender. That's why I didn't. I gave you a keeper, a midfielder, and a forward.
Yeah, I'd agree with Mars. I don't think there is one actually in the back. I think because Liverpool don't play in the double, you can't make that compelling case for them. Definitely for the blank upcoming. I think you want three Liverpool. I've decided to offset the risk and go forward, midfielder, and defender, but. Ongoing, I don't think you can make a case for him being a must-have. I really like Van Dijk, and surely he's due a goal. Surely.
I think if it depends. Like if you haven't got a wild card, then that him playing in the single game week offsets him not having a double.
It's a good point, actually. I always assume that people have still got it, but of course.
And sometimes single game week can outscore the double. So
it can. God, yeah, that's burnt.
Absolutely. I honestly haven't looked at the fixtures. So I don't even know.
Liverpool have a really good
at home, mate. It's a lovely one. Bournemouth at home in 34.
In 34, okay, yeah, that's a nice one. But Bournemouth can attack, and they've come to Anfield and caused those problems before. But yes, absolutely. If you don't have the wild card and you already have Van Dijk, you keep those players, especially if you built value on them. Because I think Van Dijk's price has risen already, so you keep them if you don't have the wild card because you don't want to lose the value of your team. But in my opinion, I don't see one defender. Maybe Azpilicueta, but again, Chelsea are not really pulling up trees. They do have a good run of fixtures, but they're not doing anything to make me want to keep them.
What's
with my Liverpool loving on the pod, by the way?
I don't know.
Yeah. We're rubbing off on you, I think. Yeah. That's. I think you're right, lads. Next up, we have Mohutsu at T3MK_. Dale, this one's for you. Do you guys find it hard to ditch players like Wilson and Theo for lack of better replacements with game week 31 fixture and instead have to navigate the game weeks by transferring in other players, supposedly bench fodder, because ditching these players leaves you with less cover, which obviously won't be good for the blank game week 31. What's your thoughts on that one, Dale?
I'll keep this brief because game week 31's been done to death on Twitter. And look, it's like this. Depending on what chips you've got, don't over focus on 31. Don't bring in duds just because they've got a fixture in 31. I mean, on average, people are going to be fielding, unless you're playing your free hit, you're going to be fielding probably 6-7 players, maybe 8. That'll be the range, I think, it'll be 6 to 8 players. Everyone's going to have 3 Liverpool players. And it's all teams that some of them are doing well, some of them are doing rubbish. And, just because they've got a fixture that week, don't mean they're suddenly going to score you 8, 9, 10, 12 points. They're probably going to revert to the mean and just get 2 or 3 points. There'll be the odd good call of a Wilson or whatever who might pop up with a brace or you know what I mean. But don't overthink it. Just get your 6 or 7 players, 8 players, whatever, and just roll with it and see what happens, because it's not going to be a make or break week. There'll probably be some guy who scores like 150 points or something, like is always the norm, but like the average is going to be pretty low.
Just keep the ones you have. I wouldn't go dropping anyone who has got a game in 31, but I wouldn't go mad trying to add duds, bench fodder as he calls it. Especially as we mentioned many times before, it's a lot of the matches are up against each other. So you have a Liverpool forwards, no point in having a defender against them.
That's it. And like the fixtures swing, don't they, after 31? The fixtures start to swing for some teams.
So, you're right. So next up, Tom, is FPL Joe at FPL Joe 23. Quick one on this was Sané looks like he's back in form and Sterling has gone AWOL. So he's reckoning, is it a straight swap for the two of them after game week 31?
Yeah, for me, this depends how much money you've got tied up in sterling. So I got on him really, really early. I got over £1 million sort of value, so £500,000 if I sold him in terms of being able to then buy him back. If you haven't got that amount, then I do understand that. I love Sane. I think he's a much better footballer than Sterling. I do actually prefer owning him in an ideal world. But if that's your only kind of concern, then you're a better manager than me. I think there's more pressing concerns than doing a sideways move of a Man City asset, particularly when you think that come game week kind of 33, we expect City to have had the league wrapped up then. And there's been loads of talk in the media this week as well about what Guardiola does when his sides win the league, in terms of what he's achieved at Bayern and that awesome team at Barca in sort of 2008. And he does rotate significantly. He shuffles that deck a lot once they've won that league. So I'd sort of tread a bit carefully, and I wouldn't really focus on sideways move of your Man City players. I'd be looking more at solidifying your squad for 31 in terms of who's playing in that, and then with a view to the double game weeks outside of Man City would be my advice there.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Tom. Dale, Mr. Walker Porter, was asking form over fixtures. So he's wondering basically dump Everton and Arsenal, even though there's no blank for Everton and Arsenal have easy fixtures in quotation marks. He has Mkhitaryan, which he's calling a fraud, and Walcott, which again is a fraud. He's struggling to think straight with the impending blank and his game week 32 wildcard. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you think we be more relying on form over fixtures?
Well, it's Chiefs' catchphrase, isn't it? Form over fixtures. I think Everton, I'd be dumping all. I would, even just because they've got a game in 31, I wouldn't even be taking any other players. I personally think that Allardyce has been told he's going in the summer. I think he was brought in to steady the ship this season, and then they're going to probably appoint Silver in the summer, I would have thought,
I agree, mate.
Someone else. Yeah. I mean, they've signed Tosin, and he can't be Allardyce's signing because he's come out and said he ain't playing him until they're safe. Well, surely if you've signed a proven striker, you play him because you need goals. That doesn't make no sense. So yeah, I think Allardyce will be going in the summer personally. So I think the squad know it, and they're not playing for him. So I think I'd be dumping Everton. Arsenal, it's a tough one. I'm on Triple Arsenal, as everyone knows on Twitter, because Fly kindly tweeted it out to everyone. I'm gonna probably dump. I'm probably gonna move it down to 2 Arsenal players, and see what happens. I'm happy to keep Aubameyang because I think he's probably gonna find goals from somewhere. And I'm happy to keep Ramsey because he's been probably their best player recently. So Arsenal, it's a wait and see.
Yep, good stuff. Thanks a million. Joseph Allegretti Mars was asking, at JP Allegretti, was asking, go Ogbonna to Schindler this week or save the transfer and choose between Ogbonna home to Burnley or Duffy away to Everton. So what's your thoughts on that one? Ogbonna to Schindler.
Save the transfer and save the transfer and play Ogbonna home to Burnley, depending if you need 2 transfers for game week 31, because Huddersfield do have a nice home fixture.
I agree with Mars. I think they both concede, actually. I think Swansea are in great form, and I'm a West Ham fan, but we were horrible on the road at Swansea last weekend, and Burnley were quality against Everton even when they went 1-0 down. So I think they probably both concede, so why risk the move? I'd
save the transfer.
I'd save it. Yeah, I agree. I think Ogbonna will come back in. He only missed the game because of illness, so especially with Reed being injured, I expect him to play in game week 30.
Good stuff, lads. Okay, move on to looking at game week 30. So we're going to basically play our game of love-hate, where we're going to go through. Let's start with you, Tom, on this. Give me 3 or 4 players or teams that you have strong love or hate feelings about for the upcoming game week.
So it's quite a tough game week, actually. So I think I really like the look of the Chelsea Palace game. I think Palace, they had a rotten defeat tonight against United. They got beaten in the very last minute, 3-2. So I think their confidence will be shot. I think Chelsea will be looking to react to negative publicity as to how defensive they were against quality team in Man City on the weekend. So I'm expecting some big points there for Chelsea. Usual assets there, Alonso, Hazard, etc. would be players to look out for. And the other one I actually quite fancy is a bit of a rogue one. Is I fancy Burnley to get a result at my team, West Ham. I think West Ham, it's a massive game for us, and we should be focusing on it. This one and the next one are two huge games for us, actually. But I was really impressed with Burnley against Everton, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. They went 1-0 down, didn't really deserve to be down, in my opinion. Fought back and deservedly won the game. So their confidence will be buoyed after, I think it was 10 games without a victory. We've got hammered 4-1 twice on the spin. Reed's now been stretchered off, so we've got real problems at centre-half. So I fancy Burnley to get a victory there. They never score heaps of goals, so if you've got somebody like Tarkowski or me, Ward, maybe Pope, then I'd play them in this game, and I'd be fairly confident of them having a good chance of a clean sheet, unfortunately for me.
Good stuff. Tell us, Dale, give us some love-hates you've got for 30.
Yeah, I agree with Tom. It's a tough game week. I don't think it's an easy one. I kind of like Brighton to carry on their form and beat Everton, I think.
Dale, so what do you reckon of the Arsenal? You mentioned you got treble Arsenal. They've got like this home fixture against Watford. How do you see that going? You confidence on paper looks awesome, doesn't it? So what are your thoughts on that one?
I'm not confident at all. I'll be honest. Watford have really tightened up. I think they've got 3 clean sheets in the last 4 or last 5. So the Javi Gracia's come in and is tightened them up. I mean, there was shipping goals. I mean, this was one of the fixtures I was looking at when there was under Silva, because they just ship goals. But he's come in and really tightened them up. I'm just hoping that Arsenal have a reaction. I mean, I've stuck the boat in on them tonight, and I really have. I'm expecting some pelters, but yeah, I'm not confident at all. But if they're going to turn it around, then this is the fixture, I suppose.
But who's your third Arsenal player, Dale? Just quickly,
Mustafi.
Mustafi, yeah,
he's probably going to be vacating, but yeah, I mean, I really like Swansea against Huddersfield. I think Huddersfield maybe running out of steam a bit. They got a lot of quality in their squad. The team works really hard, and I think Wagner's done a brilliant job. But I can just see Swansea, because they've got the form at the minute, just
playing really well, aren't they?
Yeah, getting the result. I mean, I'm tempted to stick Ayew as my third forward, to be honest. But yeah, other than that, I'm expecting a really tough game week. Man United v Liverpool is like the standout fixture of the week, but Man United will probably park the bus, and it'll be down to see whether Salah can break the team down.
It is really hard to call that Man United Liverpool game, isn't it? I think the Swansea one's a great shout, though, Dale. I think they're in quality form, and I hadn't really thought about saying Huddersfield running out of steam. That might be a thing. I know Donica mentioned Key earlier, 4.9 mil, and you mentioned Jordan Ayew. Andre Ayew was awesome against us on the week. So there may actually be a few options there in terms of looking for a differential from Swansea. If you wanted to take a punt on just game week 30, there's a few.
Yeah, Campbell likes to attack basically, and he's playing both the Ayew brothers up front. You could turn the midfield. Is it Jordan? He's a midfielder on the FPL, and he could take him as an out of position, really. I think he's about 6.4.
They do have a good few options, yeah. So then that might be a good way to, if you're looking to gain on your money league in terms of a fixture that people might not have been focused on, then that might be one to look at. Actually, I've got Jordan Ayew as my third choice striker. I'll definitely be playing him in this game, but I do like the look of Key as well. I think he's still 4.9 mil, so he may be another one to look at.
I think there'll be a good team for the wildcard fillers.
Agree, mate. Definitely.
For sure, yeah. And Jordan Ayew definitely a shout for the third forward. We forgot when we were discussing that, for sure.
He seems to be the preferred choice for Carvalho, doesn't he? Ahead of sort of Tammy Abraham
and Boney.
And Boney and Andre Ayew kind of plays in midfield with him. So he looks good value. So, yeah, good shout, mate.
Good stuff. Marzi, have you got any love-hates for me?
I actually think Newcastle are going to do Southampton over. So I think that's a sneaky fixture there that not many people might have players from. So if you do, Newcastle at home, I think they'll beat Southampton. I think Southampton are struggling for confidence. They managed, a draw against Stoke at home, which is, not the best thing. Apart from everything that we said, I agree with I actually hate the United-Liverpool fixture. Nothing to do with the fact that I support Liverpool. It's everything to do with the fact that I support Liverpool, and I hate that fixture, and I hate the fact that it's at 12:30 on Saturday. Has a chance to ruin my weekend.
The whole day.
Yeah, exactly. I already prepped the wife. I said, Liverpool are playing early on Saturday, against United. So if I'm in a bad mood, just let it be. And nobody's mentioned Stoke City on Monday night. I'm actually probably the one game that I'm most scared about selling Aguero. If he plays, and obviously Sterling could come back, I sold him as well. I think that fixture could... Man City want to win the league as soon as possible and wrap it up. So I can see them really demolishing Stoke. Didn't they score 7 when they played at home against them?
Sure.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So, it could be a dangerous night for... I still got Otamendi and he'll play. But for people who, like me, sold Aguero or Sterling or both, I'll be watching behind the sofa.
The only thing with that, Mars, is that they do have the Champions League kicking round. So you never know with Pep, do you? I mean,
it's true, but they've got Basel this week.
Yeah,
and they've already they pretty much threw. So he played his strongest team against Chelsea. He probably rest. I can imagine Aguero getting a rest.
Actually, even after that as well, they don't have an FA Cup game, do they? So he can probably just flog them until then anyway, if he wanted to, and then give them a nice break. So, I suspect Aguero will probably play, and they could easily destroy Stoke, couldn't they?
As you said, Mars, I think they actually want to wrap up the league before the Champions League really gets into the business stages. Where they can have. Totally take the foot off the gas in the league.
And I read a good quote that Pep said the last 6 weeks is the best he's seen Aguero play. So he's right in favour now. So you'd expect him to play.
Just like record. I wonder if just like Jose now when he drops him, do you remember when he praised Luke Shaw and then suddenly Young is back at left back? I wonder if he said that because he's preparing to rest him for a bit, and then he doesn't want Aguero to get mad. Or so. I'm just saying, I'm speculating. But, I sold Aguero and I'm happy. I got lucky in a way because I watched the games that he played and he could have easily scored against Arsenal in the league, got an assist. He could have easily scored against Chelsea. I got away with it because Firmino did better, and that's who I sold him for. But, if he comes back and haunts me in one game, I expect that because he'll be most likely be back in the wildcard team. But it's a fixture that and the other one actually that we haven't mentioned is Bournemouth Spurs. That many people will captain Salah, and unfortunately for us brave ones who've been captaining Kane for the last few weeks, a lot of the people I can see them jumping on that bus now. With Spurs playing away from home, Kane seems to actually score more, and against Bournemouth who will attack and can't defend very much. So for you Spurs assets, it's going to be a good game.
Yep, I think it should be. Fellas, that's brilliant. Moving on out to the final section of the show, which is, of course, our Barlow and Baldwin captain picks. You know the drill. Looking at your own team, who are you going to be picking if you want to make a conservative choice? That's the Barlow. And who are you going to go for if you're feeling frisky? As always, we'll give it to our guest to give us the first pick.
So Barlow will definitely be Harry Kane. I've still captained him, I think, all in pretty much every time he's been an option this season. So he would be the Barlow one.
Brilliant stuff. Tell us, Dale, come to you next one. Who's going to be your Barlow?
I've got to agree with that. Harry Kane. I can't really disagree with that, to be honest.
Yeah, and Mars, what about yourself? Are you going to give us a clean sweep for Harry?
Yeah, Harry Kane gets it.
Good stuff. And Tom, bringing it back now to the risky one. If you're going to go risky, who are you going to go for?
Yeah, I think my risky one, I know that Jamie Vardy's got a great record at the Hawthorns. So I've still got Vardy, so I'd probably go him.
Perfect. And Dale, coming to you. So on the risky one, who are you going to go for?
Oh, it's a tough one this week. A really, really tough one. I was going to maybe say Chris Wood, but because Tom supports West Ham, I won't. I'll go with Jordan Ayew.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah, I like that, mate.
That's a good one. And I like Tom's one because we forgot the Leicester-West Brom fixture. That's another one where I just think West Brom are gone. And Leicester, away from home again, they could do well. If I had Vardy or Mahrez, they would be my Baldwin pick. But
West Brom have to try and win, right? So they're going to have to attack them. They just have to.
They can try. They can try all they want, mate.
So that's going to be good for Vardy as well. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they will win at all, but I think they have to at least try. So that should give Vardy a chance to get at that back line. So I might risk it.
Yeah, West Brom are gone.
They're gone.
Oh,
they're gone.
Gone. Yeah.
Unless you sack Pardew, they might sack him.
They might find it hard to get back up again too.
They've got a lot of old players. They've got a lot of old players that,
That's what I mean. They need a whole revamp of the squad and everything.
Yeah. My Baldwin would be either Walcott or Alonso. Alonso against Palace, Walcott at home to Brighton. Walcott's been quiet, so if he comes up with a brace now, why not?
If you captain either of them, Maz, then
I'm not going to captain either of them. I'll change
my Twitter handle to Maz is a god.
Nice one, fellas. Lads, that's all we got time for. Thanks a million to you, our honorary amigo, Tom Campbell, of course, who you all follow at UtterlyTC. Thanks to you for listening, sharing and liking the pod, our lovely listeners. And get following our group Twitter account at 3amigos FPL. Mars at Mars05, Chef Dale H, that's our Dale, and myself at FPL Marple. We have a special request this week. As I mentioned earlier on, we've just joined the Reddit community, so listeners who use Reddit's Fantasy Premier League group, please look us up at 3amigos FPL and give us an upvote to help us out. Booyah!
One for each other and all for one. The three brave amigos are real.